Let's talk about Alex Jones. The Alex Jones free speech, hate speech, conspiracy theorist fiasco has just exploded because YouTube has banned Alex Jones altogether. They've ended his channel's existence on YouTube. If you go to the Alex Jones YouTube channel right now, you will merely see a message saying, quote, "This account has been terminated for violating YouTube's community guidelines." Spotify, as I told you, had pulled some podcast episodes. Facebook had removed some video content by Alex Jones. I told you yesterday that iTunes removed the audio podcasts altogether. And now the big boy, one of the massive moneymakers for Alex Jones, has ended his channel altogether on YouTube. And this story has just grown and grown over the last 24 hours. And I want to do the censorship piece justice. So I want to get into more detail about this today than I did yesterday. So first of all, so that we have all the information, why did YouTube ban Alex Jones' channel? YouTube's terms prohibit hate speech and harassment. YouTube says Alex Jones was publishing both of those things. Which clips exactly is not totally clear, but there's plenty of fodder there, right? Claiming the parents of Sandy Hook school shooting victims were crisis actors, promoting Pizzagate conspiracy theories, which led to the harassment of the staff and management and ownership at that Comet Ping Pong Pizza, whatever it's called, blaming the Parkland shooting on the wrong person. There's a very long list here. And that is why YouTube says it has banned the channel entirely. Jones' reaction is that he was the victim of a quote, globalist Death Star intent on banning conservatives from platforms like YouTube and social media. He says you can help him fight that censorship by buying more of those bogus supplements that he sells. So never waste a good opportunity to make some money. So now let's get into the analysis. Yesterday, I made clear that this isn't a free speech issue in the legal sense, since Spotify and iTunes and YouTube aren't the government, okay? I also made clear that these websites have community guidelines and they determine if you have violated them. So what happened here is totally legal. And in the same way that I've been demonetized or had videos limited over time by these platforms, so has Alex Jones. The other argument is, okay, fine, David, the companies have terms of service and they can make these decisions, but these companies are so big and they have so much control over eyeballs that they're unique in some way. It's not like your local paper saying they're no longer going to accept letters to the editor from Alex Jones. The idea is these companies are so big and control such market share that they are tastemakers. That's not even the right word. I really need a bigger word. And thus, they can't just say, we're going to block Alex Jones. If your argument is that they're too big to be bound by or to have the same freedoms that normal smaller businesses should have, maybe the problem is that they got so big in the first place, except I don't hear conservatives trying to prevent companies like YouTube from getting as big as they have gotten.
I mean, it's a fair argument to make, right? Because YouTube does seem like it's becoming a monopoly. There isn't a clear competitor to it. Facebook, you can say the same thing, maybe to a lesser degree. But if you want to make those a public commodity, you have to do that because you believe in the principle, not just because you're against Alex Jones being banned from those platforms.
And not starting to talk about it only when Alex Jones has been banned from those platforms. So that's the legal situation. Now, that being said, I don't like this. I don't like this, and I want to explain to you why. I do like the fact that Alex Jones's disgusting, vile, dangerous material is going to be less accessible. So if that's what YouTube wants to do, legally, I don't have a problem with it. But I believe that the spirit of platforms like YouTube should be, if it's not illegal, then allow it. Advertisers have to have the right to say, we don't want our ads showing up on the Alex Jones channel if that's their prerogative, if that's what they want. There shouldn't be child porn allowed. There shouldn't be direct threats against specific people. That one's actually kind of borderline because the Pizzagate stuff from Alex Jones arguably did lead to threats against specific people. But the theme is, even if this is okay to do by YouTube, I don't think it's a good direction. The views of people like Alex Jones should be ostracized and discredited, ideally ignored. They should be so obviously ridiculous that they have no impact. As a policy, I opt on the side of allow it if it's legal, because once you start picking and choosing It's about whether you like the choices YouTube or Facebook or whoever makes. Now, this is blurry and complex because I do think that these platforms have a responsibility to police content responsibly. If individuals are being targeted or harassed, if the content is criminal, then they do have a responsibility to deal with that, and they can make these decisions. But I would prefer, in the absence of illegal content, for individual pieces of content that are offending the policy, the guidelines, terms of service to be removed, rather than entire channels. In addition, once you start doing this, people are going to point out, and rightly so, YouTube is filled with horrible channels that have been pointed out lately, which have not been blocked or banned, including channels where parents do horrible things to their kids, borderline and including child abuse, and all sorts of other stuff. So part of this isn't just the content of the videos, but it's the relative impact and the PR around them. And that's where it starts to get dicey, because it became groupthink among these different platforms to all at the same time say, that's going to do it for Alex Jones. So legally, I don't see a problem, but I don't like this. And I recognize that just because it's happening to Alex Jones now and not me, it could happen to me, even if I've not put up illegal content, merely because of the sort of shifting interpretation of what the community guidelines are.
Yeah, I really hate that pile-on effect that we see from some of these platforms. Like, because Spotify takes down some of his episodes, that means that Facebook and YouTube have to ban them, even though those platforms for the longest time expressed that they wanted to keep Alex Jones' channel up out of the principle of free speech. So that's a little bit disconcerting.
And I know people are going to write into me, Pat, and say, David, are you defending Alex Jones or are you defending his content? No, I'm not doing either. I think that the content, as I said, is vile, depraved, and disgusting. And it's anything that leads to fewer people seeing it is a good thing in terms of the ends. The means are something I worry about because it is open to significant subjectivity once you say, it's not illegal content. And I do understand why YouTube did it. I get why iTunes did it. This is not only a PR liability, but if Alex Jones loses a lawsuit against the Sandy Hook family soon, which he might, these platforms could be worried about legal liability for having allowed the offending content. But once again, what I want to circle back to is the analysis from yesterday stands, which is this is what it looks like when businesses make decisions that are best for them. Just because YouTube is huge doesn't mean they have to carry it unless, of course, it's determined that on the basis of the 1966 Supreme Court case, Evans v. Newton, it's a private company that is endowed with sort of pseudo-governmental powers or as an agency of the state because they are so big. That's not been determined here, legally speaking. But in the meantime, the problem is people will start to say, if this one, why not that one? People have been emailing me about Steven Crowder saying, David, in a lot of his videos, he's sort of bullying people and harassing people. Isn't this over the line? Isn't it hate? And that's why it gets very complex.
Yeah, it's the classic slippery slope argument. And maybe you could say the same thing about us, that maybe we're next. And, we don't defame people here on the David Pakman Show, and we don't issue any threats of violence. We tend to save that for the bonus show.
Sure,
but,
of course.
It could raise some red flags.
Oftentimes, slippery slopes should be resisted when they don't make sense. Other times, you have to consider, is there actually any protection against a slippery slope? And I think that this is a borderline case for sure.